Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's having a lovely morning. Let's turn this off. Right, so as you've probably gathered from the title of this talk, I'm going to talk about web development, and I think web development is one of the best tools or fields in software engineering because of how accessible it is. And like think about what you need to get started. You just need like a web browser and that's it. And so this creates kind of like a gateway drug into software engineering. And kind of like, I think I'm a testament to this accessibility because I started writing websites when I was like 10 years or something. And I was using PHP and the LAMP stack, if anyone knows what it is. And the difference between writing a website back then and now is stark. Today you need like a zillion front-end frameworks, back-end frameworks, state management libraries, client-side routing, bundlers, build tools. The list is endless. TypeScript. Like if you're starting a website today, it's possible to spend weeks, sometimes even months, just setting up the initial project scaffolding for your app. Right now, like today, currently, at this present moment, there exists a repo on GitHub, which has hundreds of devs working on it, together writing thousands of lines of JavaScript code and I want you to focus here, just so we can display some text and images. Most of these tools have like their time and place, and I think the JavaScript, or let's say like the web development community, has done a very poor job educating people as to like when and when not to use these things. And so the result is many people, I think most people, especially junior engineers, think that this is just the current state of the world. You just have to download 100 megabytes of JavaScript code, literally thousands of files, just to create a simple like hello world application using React and Vite. If you're starting a new project today, it's possible to spend weeks, sometimes even months, just setting up the initial project scaffolding for your app. What? Well, so like, I think today, like, if you have this kind of mentality, like a Jehovah's Witness, I want to give you some good news. There is a simpler way. Indeed, I think depending on what you're trying to do, this could be the simpler way. I call it the web's secret superpower. Didn't always used to be a secret. It's something that has existed since the beginning of the internet, but we've seemingly forgotten all about it. I forgot about the slides. Right? So today we're going to talk about like the web's secret superpower and why it's making a comeback. But before we get to that, let's first start talking about like how we got here. And I think a lot of it started with a powerful idea. The single page application. The promise was amazing, right? A desktop-like experience in the browser. No more full page reloads on every button clicked, on every form submitted. Everything feels like fluid, fast, instantaneous. I've been chasing this smoothness. We created a monster of complexity. We ended up with two applications, your JavaScript front end and whatever you have running on your back end. And in order for these two systems to communicate, you need to create some sort of data fetching layer. And the industry chose to create JSON APIs. This created a kind of tight but brittle coupling because Every time the product team wants to add a new screen to the wants to add a new field to the screen, you have like what's the process? Like, firstly, the front end engineer needs it in the JSON response, and so he files a ticket for the backend guy. The backend guy adds the field, deploys the API, and then finally, the front end engineer can consume it. Every UI-driven change becomes a cross-team negotiation. It's slow and it's brittle. And what you've now done is you've taken the source of truth for your application state and you've split it across two code bases, two domains, two like mental models trying to stay in sync over a network core. Somewhere along the line, someone said, the solution for this is to make our APIs more expressive using things this is where things like GraphQL come along. But this opens up a whole new can of worms because now you have to think about securing every field because a user can ask for anything. It's a trade-off between API churn and the versioning hell that comes with it and a complex security model. So the solution, right? Look at that, I forgot. We replaced, look at this. We replaced the simple browser native battle tested A tag with a more complex, in the case of React, link component that triggers many kilobytes of JavaScript just to show a new screen. And so the solution is hypermedia as the engine of application state. I intentionally made all my slides as blend as possible, just to make this one pop, you know, to make it stick in your mind. I hope it's having the desired effect because, like, the hypermedia approach elegantly sidesteps most of these problems because when your server responds with HTML, your API is driven by your UI needs from the start. There's no separate data fetching layer to maintain. The logic of your application lives on your server in a trusted environment where it belongs. And the beautiful thing is that with modern tools like HTMX, you can get those smooth, dynamic, modern user experiences that people have come to expect without the complexity of a full-blown spa. It does this by doing partial page reloads with what's it called, Ajax, with Ajax. And so the result is that for your end user, the experience of using your application is the exact same as like an application written in React or Angular or whatever. And this means that for you, the dev, you can get all the benefits of a single page application without the complexity and with just a fraction of the code. And as we all know, or at least should know, there's the list. It's a very short list of reasons why you should consider using hypermedia as the engine of your application state. I wrote there radical simplicity because think about what you get to throw away. Entire libraries for state management, client-side routing, the virtual DOM, the entire serialization layer of your JSON APIs. Your front end becomes just HTML, CSS, and you can sprinkle in some JavaScript here and there to add some UI, UX improvements, things like drop-downs, modals, whatever else, some graphs here and there. And that's it, right? And number two, you can write your backend in anything, Python, Java, C#. If it can render a HTML string, then it can power a modern, dynamic, rich hypermedia UI, hypermedia-driven UI. And it kills the brittle contracts. That API churn I was talking about, the versioning hell, that's gone. The contract between your front end and your back end becomes just HTML. Your front ends can be dumb again. If you want to add a new field to the screen, you just update the template on your back end and that's it. It's quick, it's fast. There's no cross-team coordination necessary. You can evolve your application at lightning speed. And number 4, yes, it does indeed scale. We are talking here about the architecture that built the World Wide Web. It's the most scalable application architecture ever invented, in my opinion. Server-side rendering of HTML is incredibly fast because, again, this is, I think, the reason, like, HTTP servers were built for this. They were built to render HTML, to serve HTML, right? And of course, all the modern application scaling techniques still apply. And actually things like scaling, things like caching, I think work better with HTML content than dynamic JSON responses. And it scales your team. It allows for a smaller team, even a single developer, to be a lot more productive. All right, so I'm not going to stand here and glaze hypermedia all day like it's some sort of silver bullet, because it's not. It's not a silver bullet like it with, I think, all things in technology, in software. Nothing is a silver bullet. If you're building a Figma or a Google Sheets or some sort of browser-based game, something with like a complex application-like experience with tons of client-side state, then yes, of course, Aspire is still probably the right choice. But if you are being honest with yourself, like most of us are not trying to build a Figma. We are building dashboards, we're building e-commerce websites, we're building content management systems. We're building applications which are essentially at their core just a series of screens you click through to view and manipulate data. These are hypermedia systems at their core. And I think we've been building them with the wrong architecture at a great cost to our productivity and, in many cases, sanity. So we've seen this kind of resurgence in hypermedia-driven applications, things like server components in the case of React. I don't know what the other guys use. Server components, whatever. Some people use like real request response kind of setups. I think the reason is because people have felt the pain. We have lived through a decade of ever-increasing complexity. Think to like the time when, back to the time when React switched from class components or whatever to hooks. A lot of companies, I don't know the appropriate word for this, but like a lot of people really had trouble migrating to that. And so I think we have felt the pain, and people are just drowning in it, this complexity, and they're reaching for a life raft. And I think hypermedia is that life raft. It's a return to first principles. It's a choice for simplicity, durability, and velocity. I like what I just said there. I lost my train of thought. So I'm going to give you a challenge. The next time you start a new project, just take a moment and think and really contemplate. Does this need to be React? Does this need to be Angular or whatever you use? Could this just be hypermedia? And I think in most cases, chances are the answer is yes. Yes, it can be hypermedia. And I hold the opinion that if it's something can be hypermedia, then it should be hypermedia driven. I was going to do a demo, but I decided against it because this is a link to a presentation called, I think it's colloquially called, the mother of all hypermedia presentations. It's a HTMX and Django presentation. And I think it does a much better job demonstrating the true power and capabilities of hypermedia-driven applications that I could ever hope to accomplish. So this is a link to an article, and because I linked the article because I think it's worth the read. It has some information, but there is a link to the YouTube video embedded in there. I think after watching the video and reading the article, you will be convinced to at least give hypermedia a chance. I'm blanking out, I think. I think that's all I had for you guys. Thank you. Thank you. I will now take a round of applause. And some questions. I know of at least one question that someone in the room has. So ask away.
And Anon online